Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and I've kept it off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitation in your weight loss and maintenance. Today we're going to talk about the 10 foods that made me fat as a kid. Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out my website, Naturopathic Earth. Check out my podcast, The Awakened Man. Check out my books, and if you appreciate my content, there is a link for PayPal. All right, so really, I think this episode should probably go on Confessions of an Obese Child, which is my series where I talk about what it's like growing up fat. But I thought we'd do one here. There are certain foods growing up that I was just really gravitated toward, addicted to, and everybody's different. That's why I want to do an episode on this, because I want you to post in the comments like what were the foods that made you fat, or what were the foods that were most tempting to you, because I think everyone's a little different. Like for me, I was never really into certain foods that other people were into. Like some people like pork rinds. I think eating pork rinds is disgusting. Why would I want to eat fried pig skin? But some people are really into that. But let's get to it. Number one, cheese enchiladas. Cheese enchiladas made me fat. I mean, my dad used to take me to Mexican restaurants all the time because my family's from Mexico. Get whatever you want. 3 cheese enchiladas, beans and rice, and 4 flour tortillas on the side. And looking back, it's like, why do I need to eat tortillas to scoop up tortilla-wrapped cheese? And it was never bean enchiladas or chicken enchiladas, seafood enchiladas. It was always cheese enchiladas, right? And I see my son loves the exact same thing. I ate that so often. I cannot tell you. What else? Number 2, and these are in no particular order, honey buns. If you go to the episode I did where I talked about how I worked at a convenience store for a woman, I think it's episode 8 of Confessions, she let me get all the free food I want as long as I stocked the beer and all these other like menial tasks. But honey buns, I loved honey buns. Honey buns are just, ooh. And you look at the back of honey buns, it's like 40 grams of fat. It's almost 80% of your daily fat intake. And it's all your daily intake of saturated fat. And as I talked about saturated fat, that's not the saturated fat you want to get. The saturated fat, which we need a certain amount, I think 20 grams a day, is animal fat. But yeah, honey buns, hardcore. Next to honey buns, zingers. Man, I loved zingers. I still do. If I haven't had them in years, but every time I get gas and go in and go pee, and I walk by the hostess, they're the zingers. So zingers are like Twinkies, but they put the icing over it. They have chocolate ones, vanilla ones, and I think they have like the coconut ones, the red ones. I've always liked the vanilla ones. I mean, I could just put 12 of them in my mouth so easily. I loved zingers. Zingers are one of my favorite. What else? Drumsticks. Remember the ice cream drumsticks? The ones that have ice cream and then they put the ice cream on the top and chocolate. I mean, just see, the thing is, like, I have that episode about how my mom and dad used to lock the junk food in a cabinet and then I would break the lock. The problem with the frozen foods is that they really couldn't do that with the frozen food. So I would just go, drumstick, and they'd keep buying them. See, that was the problem. They were enabling my behavior. But I love drumsticks. Drumsticks were probably my second favorite ice cream treat. What else? Frozen pizzas. Totino's. My mom used to always buy Totino's frozen pizzas. And it's funny because I don't remember anyone else in my family eating these things. So I need Totino's frozen pizzas. I was like Augustus Gloop. I need Totino's. I need frozen. And she'd just keep giving me frozen pizzas. I mentioned in the Confession series how when I got home from school, my mom would give me 3 cheese enchilada frozen entrees as like my pre-dinner dinner. Good. Enabling bad behavior, but I love frozen pizzas. I talk about one of the Confession episodes how I'd order Domino's and get 2 large pizzas and then hide the cartons behind the washing machine, and eventually, of course, my parents would find it and they'd just be like, Gregory, they wouldn't do anything. Number 6, this is gonna be chili cheese Fritos. Man, I love chili cheese Fritos. Again, it's been some time since I've eaten them because of all the MSG, but they are addictive. And then they have the honey twist ones. Those are good. Those are good. Next to those would be Cheetos. Never liked spicy Cheetos. When I was a kid, they didn't have spicy Cheetos. But man, Cheetos. And like anytime you get the grocery store version, it's not the same. The MSGs, the food dyes, there's something about the Lay's brand that makes those Cheetos so addictive, and you lick your fingers. What else? Bagels. My dad used to take me to the chapel in the middle of the night. I think I talked about it in my episode of my father. And then after we'd go to the chapel at 3 in the morning, we would go to the diner And was it Wednesdays, 3 a.m. Every Wednesday, 3 a.m. 3 bagels with cream cheese. So they would cut them up, so it's 6 bagels, just lathering extra cream cheese. I mean, don't get me wrong, bagels taste great. I still have bagels here and there, but just a toasted bagel with the cream cheese. We don't call it schmear over here in Texas, but man, that stuff is good. What else? Big Macs. I talk about in the episode with the bicycle seat how they had to put in the big bicycle seat with the shock absorption because I couldn't sit on a regular bicycle seat. Then unfortunately, I had a McDonald's maybe a mile away. So I'm riding my kid-sized bike with a gigantic shock absorption bicycle seat to get to McDonald's, because back then they would have these specials, 2 Big Macs for $2. You know, this is 1986, 1987. And I would just load up. And I had this weird thing about Big Macs, okay? So this is the weird OCD guy that I am. So in a Big Mac, I would take out the middle bread, which had the secret sauce, which was the Thousand Island essentially. Eat that, just the bread. Then the top meat didn't have any of the sauce because the sauce was on the bottom, on the middle bread. And the bottom meat had the sauce glued to it underneath the bread, right? So then I would switch the meats and put the top meat with the bottom, because the bottom bread had the gooey stuff, and then move the bottom meat, which had the gooey cheese on it, to the top bread, and then eat them like little one bread patty stuff. And of course, I'd eat that like in 30 seconds. They did not fill me up at all. So I'd get like 2, 3, 4, 5 Big Macs, especially when they were on sale. And number 10, the number 10 thing that made me fat, Dairy Queen Blizzards. Even today, I love Dairy Queen Blizzards. Anytime I go to Houston to visit my mom with my kids, we always stop at Dairy Queen on the way back. But, oh man, I can't tell you how many Dairy Queen Blizzards. Back when I was even in college, like I would say mid-90s, they would have the specials of 99-cent Blizzards for smalls. And so in college, even when I talked about my binge eating in college, but even in high school in the early 90s, I mean, I get 7 or 8 of these in one sitting. I loved them. M&M ones I wouldn't get because they get stuck in your teeth. I was much into the cookie dough, Oreo, because you get all the Oreo pieces and the mixes in. Because you don't want to get Blizzards where it's only mixed in the top and then the bottom is just the ice cream. So I was very keen on getting the right ones. Back then they had the fruit ones. I never got the fruit ones. It was always candy based. And then later they had the aspartame-laden Blizzards called the Breezes. And so I was really into that, and I was like in my college years just ingesting all that aspartame. So those are the top 10 foods that made me fat. Guys, post in the comments. I'd like to hear from what are the top 10 foods that made you fat. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.